In this video, I'm going to go over how you can add the correct header to your annotated bibliography, and I'm also going to explain how the annotation should look for your annotated bibliography that is due November 18th. Alright, so the first thing that I want to draw your attention to is I've already written the heading. Notice I am in Times New Roman 12 size font. I have my 1-inch margins on each side. My title is Annotated Bibliography, and that is center aligned, as well as my research question should come right underneath it, and that too is center aligned. Right now we're going to go through the steps of inserting the correct header. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to come up here and hit the tab that says Insert. You are going to choose Header and Footer. You're going to see 3 lines appear, one to the left, one to the center, one to the right. You're going to choose the far right hand. You are going to insert your last name. And before going on from here, you're going to need to change the font to Times New Roman. So you need to highlight the information, go back over to Home, see how it's defaulted back to Calibri and 11. You're going to change this to Times New Roman and 12. Okay, so now we have that fixed. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to add the page number. So we're going to go back to Insert, Page Numbers. We're going to choose the far right option. And remember, it's going to have the open caret, numerical, and closed caret, and you'll just ignore that. And you'll click off of it, and your header is complete. Remember that the heading should be your name, course, period, instructor, and full date of when it is due. So we've got that information here. All right, so now we're going to move on to discuss the citations and what should be included in your summaries. So as we've discussed already, an annotated bibliography is a combination of the sources that you have looked up and information about those sources. So my first source discussing Dante, and I've gotten all of these from the library database. I will show you really quickly. The reason why I like to use the library database is because, remember, it does a lot of the work for you. So for example, I used this document. So I'm in Gale, and over to the side it says Citation Tools, and I want MLA 8, and it creates the citation for me. Now, I will show you really quick in this video a trick to make sure this is correct, because even though they've created it for you, there's still a couple of things that you have to do to clean it up. So I'll click Select, then Control C to copy. Then I will head over here to my paper, and I'm going to go ahead and delete this one so you can see it from the beginning of the process. Okay, so I've pasted this directly from the database, and what you can see here is that their default font is not the correct one. So I'm going to have to highlight this information and make sure that it is switched to Times New Roman 12. Okay. The thing that it already has done is the hanging indentation. So I'm just going to show you really quick how to create a hanging indentation in case you have forgotten. So you'll highlight the information. And then up here at the top next to paragraph, you'll see this button here that has a little arrow pushing the lines in. And when you click the arrow next to it, you have 3 options: none, first line, and hanging. You'll choose hanging for the citation, only the citation. Your summary will not be hanging indentation. It will be regular indentation. So to indent this correctly, you'll put your cursor in front of it and you'll just hit tab once and you have your regular indentation. Okay. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to make sure my citations are all correct. This one is Times New Roman, but it is not hanging, so I'm going to highlight it. And I'm going to go up here and I'm going to choose hanging and fix that one. And then I'm going to click here at the beginning of my summary, tab once to create that correct indentation. Same for this. Highlight, indent, hanging, tab once at the beginning of my summary for the correct indentation for that. Okay. All right, so notice also that they are in alphabetical order by the author's last name. Okay. And now I'm going to briefly talk to you about what should be included in your paragraph. The first couple of sentences should be dedicated to summarizing the influential aspects of the article. So here I say that Dino Serini composes a detailed analysis of Dante's use of myth and Aristotelian concepts. And then within the structures of the, oh, look, we've got a mistake right here that I can fix. It's always a good idea to read your paper aloud because you can find mistakes just like I just found. So within the structures of this essay, the author summarily expresses the meaning and function of myth in general, referring first to one of the most famous employers of the term in reference to poetry. And then my next sentence continues on about the what was happening in the article itself. Then my last part of my summary should include a reflection of how this source helped me. So I said this article is important to my research because this is another, we got another, so we'll say because it illuminates the intricate influences weaved between the politics of the time and the metaphysical implications of Dante's allegory in both a poetic and theological sense. Okay. All right. So again, your summary should be a few sentences, 2 to 3 sentences on what the article is about. And then you should have 1 to 2 sentences that reflects on how you use the article or what was important in the article. So for again, just to show you an example, here we have a podcast by Laurel Seidel from NPR. And she's talking about video games. So remember, my research question is about Dante's modern influence. So in here, I say that NPR's Laurel Seidel reports on the video game Dante's Inferno. Seidel explains in the interview that the video game makes several historical references to Dante, his work, and his influences, but the game varies greatly in purpose and outcome. And then I gave a quote. You are welcome to give quotes in your summaries. And then finally, I say this particular podcast is very important to my inquiry because my research question centers on the modern influence of Dante and his work. This particular source led me to consider how a video game that is loosely based on the literature may inadvertently expose certain clientele to Dante and subsequently other Greek and Roman philosophers who otherwise would never experience the work. Now, this is only 3 examples. Remember, your annotated bibliography will need to have 10. The 5 that you created for the proposal and 5 more that you gather in the next couple of days.